You know, the way to pick your net really is to see if Dale's head fits inside it. And then you know you can land like a 30-inch fish. Right?
Yeah.
Hey everyone, today we're going to go through this table. It looks like a mess right now, but it's basically what do I choose when I'm picking a net? Why do I choose that net? What are the benefits? All that good stuff. How do I attach it? All the questions about nets that we possibly get asked in the shop. So I'm Bobby. I'm with Tuckasegee Fly Shop. Happy to help you kind of figure this out today. So let's dive in. Tons of nets here. So we've got, as you can see, short handle nets, long handle nets, or what they call the mid-length from Fish Pond. You know, there's tons of possibilities. As you can see with most of these sitting up here on it, or all of them, they're all either rubber nets or they're rubber coated nets. Why is that important, you may ask, especially for people that are maybe just now getting into the sport? So basically, the immune system of a trout is on the outside of it. But that slime, when you touch a fish and you go, man, he's really slick, that is part of his immune system. And I can't get into it biologically. I don't have a biology degree, but that's part of it. And so by using a rubber net, you're protecting the fish. If you had a cloth net, or you had cloth gloves on and you handle a fish, you're taking that slime off the fish. So that's the reason we prefer you do this if you're practicing catch and release. The other main reason to have a rubber coated net like this is that once you get the fish in there, especially if you're fishing like a double rig, like a 2-nymph setup, or maybe 2 dries or dry dropper setup, something like that, is that fish is kind of, you know, moving around in the net. Your hooks either come out of the fish or one of them gets caught in this net. In a fabric net, it gets stuck in, especially if it's a barbed hook, and it is a pain to get out. In this one, it may loop around it, but all you do is just reach in there, flip it off of it, and pull it out. So it's a little easier for you. It's better for the fish, so it's a win-win. So first of all, when you're picking a net, for trout fishing especially, or really any fishing, I would go with a rubber net. I think that's just better for you, better for the fish. They seem to hold up really well. So top notch there. The next decisions may be design of the net. Do I want a longer handle? Do I want a shorter handle? Do I want a wider basket? Do I want a narrower basket? These are all depending on what you're doing, where you're fishing, you know, maybe mobility issues you have, things like that. The one advantage to a long handled net is pretty simple. It's longer, so it's easier to reach out further, right? You get an extra, whatever this is, 18 to 20 inch reach, which can be important when you're trying to hold a rod up and scoop a large trout. It's nice to have that little bit of extra reach. So that's the benefit of that. The downside of it is you have to carry it, right? So how do you carry this on your back or whatever? Something we're gonna go through and talk about is the different attachment points and different retractors and stuff like that maybe you have to choose there. Another thing to look at is aesthetics. You know, everybody likes the way they look or don't look, or colors or whatnot. You know, as trout fishermen, we're always talking about what you got on the water. Are you wearing a bright red shirt versus an olive shirt versus camouflage? Can the fish see you? So does that matter to you? Sometimes maybe you're just looking for, in the aesthetic thing, is it a piece of art? Do I really like the way it looks? You know, natural wood. It's a little prettier sometimes. This one's actually a custom made net from Brady's Handmade Nets, good friends of ours that do an impeccable job. You know, he puts your name on it. I like to play a little bit of guitar, so he put a guitar on here for me. And then his logo's on the other side. So you can get something custom made with certain wood and color and varnish and all that good stuff. So there's definitely a ton of options out there to choose. You know, Fish Pond's famous for having different handles. I should have grabbed the river one, but they actually have one of these with a river on it. It's the Colorado River that runs down the handle. Not a big deal. We could probably do a video on it. But, you know, this one's got kind of like a dotted trout pattern type look on it. So this one here has got the brown trout handle on it, the look of it with the little dots and everything. So, you know, aesthetics are one of those things that you have to choose what you're willing to use and stuff. Now, knowing that these are tools. So they will get chipped and beat up and scratched and things like that if you're out fishing a lot and using them. And that's just part of it. So maybe you go, the aesthetics aren't that important to me. I just want something that's super usable. totally up to you. You know, that's the thing. This is all relative to what you want, what you like, how you use it. Something I do like about a long handle net over a short handle net beside the reach is in a pinch, if you don't have a wading staff, this becomes a little bit of a staff for you if you need it. You can set it down in there, and actually on my fish pond net, which I use quite a bit, this right here is chewed up pretty good from sticking it in the rocks and everything. They do make a little rubber cap that goes over the end, so if that's something that you think you're gonna do a lot and you don't want to chew up the handle of your net, you can get one of those little rubber caps that Fish Pond makes to pop over the end. So there's all those little things to do and look at. So short-handled nets. We talked about the advantages of this guy. What's the advantage of a short-handled net? Well, it gives you compactability, minimalist, easy to get in and out of. You know, and if you choose something like these two, what's the advantage over this one? Well, this one gives you a little bit more, I don't want to say square footage, but square inch to be able to scoop the fish. You can make a little, not as accurate of a scoop on the fish and maybe grab them, where this one's a little narrow. But this one gives you the advantage, the one in my left hand, your right, as we're looking at it. This gives you a little bit more advantage of getting through brush. So it's not as wide. It's probably not going to catch as many tree limbs or rhododendron or willow or wherever you happen to be fish. You know, if you're going up into the national park, up high in the national park, I should say, or up on the Blue Ridge Parkway around here, this is probably perfect. You don't need much more than this. A lot of the fish you're going to catch are going to be smaller. Now, you could hook into a sizable fish, but you still have the opportunity to land him with a net, because this will hold probably a 24-inch fish, no problem. But most of those fish you're going to catch are probably going to be sub 15 or 12 inches. So they're going to be probably between that 6 to 12 inch category, I'd say, on average. This is a great net. It's minimalist, keeps you compact, small. Same thing with something like the wooden net here from Adams Built. You know, this basket's not as deep as these guys are, so that may be the disadvantage of that. That's something to look at. The other thing to think about when choosing the net is price point. You know, some of these range from, we've got wherever that metal one went, this one right here, you know, it's probably in that $55 range if I remember it. Yeah, $55. Some of these are $200. So there's a large price point range. How much do you want to spend on a net? Coming to that, it's an investment. You want to make sure it's secure and safe, and it's easy to lose a net. Quite a few people that work here at the shop have lost a net. Me and Justin, before we started this video, actually started talking about that, about a time where he lost one of his nets. Luckily, it wasn't an expensive net, but it does happen. So it's something to consider. How does it attach to you so that you don't lose it, or how do you keep it? So a few different options. Some nets come with little things on them, like this one here comes with this little bungee retractor type thing, and it just has a clip. The downside to this is pretty restricted. That thing's getting pretty tight right there. So basically, to carry this net, you would have to carry it basically on your hip, and that's all you would have, if that makes sense. So it doesn't give you a lot of freedom with that adjustability. It works, don't get me wrong, but it's maybe not the best option depending on who you are and where you're going to fish. You know, some of them, the fish pond ones, a lot of these hand nets come with just this rope, just a piece of paracord basically. Again, it's a way to hook it on you, but I personally don't want to be fiddling with this little thumb release when I've got a big fish on or something like that. So I prefer something that's a little more useful in it. Again, that'll work to keep it on you if you're on a budget and you're not ready to buy a retractor or some type of keeper, but that's definitely probably not the best one because it is super restrictive. Literally, you've got about 8 to 10 inches there, and that is it. So a couple of ideas we got here. We've got the Fish Pond Confluence 2.0. We actually did a video on this. I have a feeling Justin will put that up before this net video, so you can go back and reference that if you want to see the product review. I'm sure he'll put a link somewhere on this near my head, left or right of me. So you can go see the review on this and why this is a good one. I actually have this on my hand net. Had the original version. This is the 2.0 again on my hand net. It's still on there. I still use it to this day. So it's a good little product. It is a magnetic keeper. So what does that mean? Well, there's 2 magnets. One stays on your net, one stays on your vest. And what that does is, if it's like on the back of you right here, you just reach up with that magnet and kind of move around a little bit, adjust your net, and it'll catch the magnet. They'll suck together and works pretty well. You just kind of got to get used to it. At first you're like, oh, I can't find it. And a lot of people, when they do that, I'll show you this right here, this little tip of the day. A lot of people, when they're trying to reconnect the magnet, they do this. And you can see how far that handle is away from my back. And they're like, I can't find it. You got to put it against your back and it'll connect in, I promise. So kind of keep that in mind when you're trying to work that magnet release. But that's an option. You know, that gives you a good extension because it's basically got a phone cord style on it where it extends out. It'll extend further than your arm will reach, so you got plenty of room to use that. Justin was talking, he actually uses this, and he doesn't necessarily use the lanyard, but he uses just the magnets. So that's another option. If you're not worried about it falling off, that is a way to lose your net if you don't have it connected to you in any way other than by a magnet. If it gets pulled off by a tree limb or something, you may not find your net, or you'll have to retrace your steps. So that's totally up to you which way you want to go on that. One thing he did mention to me, and I hadn't thought of this, and I think it's brilliant. Most people attach their nets to them either here or here. Even on the hand nets, they either put it at the top of the basket or at the handle. And why do they do that? Some people like it to lay this way against their back, and they can just grab it and pull it off, and then they'll maybe throw it up and grab it or whatever. And then some people actually want it to hang with the handle down, so when they grab the net, they can just pull it out and it's ready to go. Totally up to you. But Justin mentioned this about long-handled nets. The problem with hanging a long-handled net from here to here is it will hit your legs, you know, especially if you're shorter. But if this is hanging here, as I walk, I'm probably going to kick this thing, and that's just not comfortable. So he actually takes and puts the magnet on kind of the maybe 3/4 or the side of the hoop a little bit. So this guy will actually sit on your body more like this, which I think is brilliant. I hadn't ever thought of that. So that's a way to carry a long-handled net on a magnet and be able to pull it out. So keep that in mind. That's another tip of the day from Justin there. Another option you have here is a retractor. So this is literally just a cable that's on a coil inside that's spun up, and this retracts out to about 42 inches. Again, probably longer than you can reach, at least most of, unless you play in the NBA. So this is a great way to, again, hook it to yourself. You don't have to worry about finding the magnet. It'll just retract right back up. So that's an option there. Same type of thing. I don't know about hooking this onto the side of the hoop. I've never tried that. Again, Justin was the one that mentioned that. So that may be something that you could play with to figure out if you could carry it kind of sideways if you have a long-handled net. The other way to carry nets, super simple. Some people stuff a long-handled net into their wading belt. Again, it may not be for you. If you have like a sling pack or a waist pack, you could shove it down in that. Some of the waist packs now have a spot for the net to go in. Sling packs now have it where it goes inside a sheath on the sling pack, and it looks like a sword. So it'll actually be sitting on your back like this through your sling pack, and then you just reach back and pull it out like a sword. So there's all different ways that you can carry a net. All of this to say, it's totally up to you. What do you need? What do you want? If you have mobility issues, you may want a longer net. It's a little harder to net a fish. If you fish with buddies all the time and you stay fairly close, maybe just a hand net's perfect because you each can help each other net your fish. You know, price point's an option. How would you connect it? What pack do you have? What vest do you have? How would you connect it to that? Most packs and vests nowadays have a spot that is designated. Basically, it's a little D-ring where you hook in a retractor or a magnet or something like that for your net. So those are all ways you can connect them to yourself. Just kind of depends on what you want. Again, if you want something that's super artistic, you know, I'm gonna plug Brady here because he's a super nice guy. But man, his stuff is awesome. I know he used to be weeks, maybe even months out. So if you wanted one of these, it's something that you order and be prepared to wait. It's not necessarily something that you'll get right away, but you know, just having your name on it, I'll spin around where my name's actually the right way. It's kind of cool. Cover up my last name. I don't want anybody to know that. No phone number or anything on here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sure you guys probably have questions about it. There's probably some stuff I missed. So please comment down in the bottom. Let us know if you got questions about nets, anything like that. Give us a call at the shop, 828-488-3333. That gets to all 3 locations. It gives you options there. Follow us on all the social media networks. We got Facebook, we got Instagram. Obviously, we got a YouTube channel, so subscribe today for that. And go check out flyshopusa.com. That's our online store. A lot of these nets you see here are probably on that online store, and if they're not, give us a call and we'll sell you one over the phone and ship it out to you. Or we'll make sure it gets on the online store if it happens to not be on there. Anyways, all that to be said, really appreciate you watching this video. Again, look forward to seeing you in the shop or on the water.